Tidehunter comes out as well for Boom, so you are probably correct, John. I'm not too happy to see it, but it is probably going to be a position 4 Dawnbreaker coming out here from Boom Esports. Fair enough, off-lane Tide, I assume, is what's going to be coming out here from Boom. OB.Neon, we'll see how they want to deal with this. I'd say they're still very comfortable with the Monkey King Enchantress lane against Tidehunter Dawn. Doesn't seem too difficult. Just secure your own farm here for OB.Neon. Fourth pickup, though, they do require 2 more cores. Potentially just pick up the offlane yourselves here if you're OB.Neon. You do still have the decent options right now in heroes like the Legion Commander that we've been seeing a lot of. I think it does kind of fit okay into the draft of OB.Neon if they wanted to go down that route. Any other offlaners that kind of strike you here as a good... In fact, never mind, they're going to go down the Viper route. So you go for the inbuilt break now, and... Well, I suppose you could still throw that into the mid lane, but... It does feel like it's probably going to be the offlane Viper.
Should be offlane coming out here for Enryu. We've seen him play that Viper multiple times as well. Just a very stable sort of lane, as you mentioned, break mechanics now there to kind of handle the Tide. To a certain extent, Dawnbreaker as well. Just take control of lane, prevent CTM from getting too much farm here in the pause 1 for whatever he takes. So Neon are kind of setting their lanes up. They could still flex it if they feel like the Viper's not going to do much on the offlane. You could still run Viper mid for JMC. You could run an offlane Monkey King for Enryu or a safe lane Monkey King for Palos. Kind of open and tossing these heroes around, but likely just focusing on keeping Skem down, preventing him from farming up, and the Viper does that well. I think for Neon side, though, Mike, with a Viper on the offlane, you are lacking teamfight. You have Wukongs, you have Impale. That's it. That's all your control. Compare that to Tidehunter, compare that to the Invoker, even the Bane and Dawnbreaker. You've got a lot of AoE spells. You've got Ravage, Tornado, Cold Snap, Ice Wall, Meteors going down, Grip, Nightmare. So much more that you can do in these engagements for Boom. Whereas for Neon, they've got good damage, but down the line, feels like the Nyx Ags timing is going to be key to have more presence by the 30-minute mark. I think you'd want that to be up at the latest for the Nyx.
Yeah, it seems like OB.Neon, they're very focused on just winning the lanes right now based off the draft, right? Like, you've got the safe lane Monkey, doesn't really lose lanes. With an Enchantress as well, you're basically guaranteed to win the lane no matter what happens. Viper offlane obviously just kind of wins out the lane, even against a hero like Bane, who is known to dominate the safe lane for their carry. So you're not going to have the freest position 1 here for Boom Esports against an offlane Viper. So OB.Neon very, very focused, it seems, on just making sure that the POS 1, or even just any lane, does not work out in their favor. I just wonder now what Skem's going to pick up in that POS 1 role. And I feel like we haven't really talked about this, but CTM, he's going to be one of the most valuable plays in that sense, right? That you could just throw him in any role and he'll play it to an extremely high level. He'll play it like he's been playing... If you took him into POS 1 right now, I guarantee he's going to look like he's been playing it for the last 5 years. It's just, he's a ridiculous man with an unbelievably versatile amount of positions and heroes he can play, and it looks like he's going to go down the Weaver route, and I personally love the pick, John, against the Viper. I don't think Viper destroys Weaver whatsoever. You're just going to Sakuchi away every single time the poison attacks fly out. You're never really going to get caught in Nether Toxin, and this should force the Viper to go down the Rod of Atos route, I would believe, because you are lacking the lockdown you talked about. So, Rod of Atos, probably going to be quite important for the Viper. Though keeping in mind as well, Jonathan, you are against the Nyx Assassin. So, against the Spike Carapace with Sakuchi, it can be kind of hard if you do get caught with your pants down.
Yeah, it makes it a bit difficult for the Weaver to just weave in and out. And that is something you can use in lane. Just put the Nyx's body forward, block the creep wave, prevent him from getting easy last hits, and try to punish from there. Sentries are going to be an important investment for Neon if they do want to play aggressive in that lane and take that angle there. For Neon side, of course, lacking a last pick. Looks like Boom are expecting a JMC hero. They have taken out a lot of his favorites. Lena's gone, Puck's gone, banned out by Neon themselves. The Spirit Brothers are pretty much gone. Storm, Void, and Ember. Earth Spirit's still there, Mike, but I'm just mentioning that for you. I don't think Earth Spirit is going to be a thing here, unfortunately. Limited options. I think the Queen of Pain is something Jamesie's played a lot if he wants to pick that up. They go with a Tiny instead. So, an interesting way of closing out. Tiny mid gives him a little bit more teamfight presence. You know, the Tiny can still take control with Avalanche Toss, has some pretty good timings to play with. From mid, we do tend to see Avalanche Toss still prioritized with a Blink Rush. So it's not that they wrecked Silver Edge build up into the Ag Shard. You do want to play that mid-game burst and transition to that point. I think that's fine. It kind of ties in some of the issues we talked about in OB.Neon's draft, and it makes it easy to handle the Weaver, for example. If you do jump the Weaver, Avalanche Toss, that hero is pretty squishy. That's down to Hyde to try to save with Nightmare if you want to break that combo.
Yeah, 100%. I do agree with that sentiment. The issue I have with mid-tiny is you're going to go Avalanche Toss max combo, but it does drop off these days. It doesn't feel quite as strong as it used to. In this current meta as well, where you are getting stat-efficient items like Falcon Blade a lot, you might just have enough HP to get through that combination. It does concern me a little bit, because I feel like every time we see mid-tiny in this meta, it never looks quite as strong as it used to. So I agree that it kind of at least allows a bit more team fight. You've got an extra stun now with Avalanche. The toss is nice, but let's see how it pans out. I'm sure OB.Neon have a plan. Of course, Boom Esports is going to be a very difficult team to have to go up against. In fact, if you were to pick a team that is the favorite to win the whole Pro Series Season 9, I think Boom Esports would kind of come into that conversation very easily. And then maybe you kind of add, GXR, or rather, the new iteration of GXR. We'll see, though. We'll head into it. Game number 1 of the whole night between Boom Esports and OB.Neon. And someone's mouse is indeed on my screen, Jonathan, so it looks like I'm going to have to reconnect, which means we're going back to cameras, John. Don't turn it off yet.
Yep.
I'm coming, John.
Beta game, sometimes it happens. I will tell you now, I'm not touching my mouse mic, so it's not me. It's just a bug. No one was with us in the slot. No one jumped in and out. So it's just one of those things that happens. We would be interested to note, though, there's a level 1 engagement here. Aubing's dropping low, tosses out.
Yeah, we're going
in. They got the stuns. Aubing.
Aubing goes down. Tim's able to pick up the first blood. Now a massive boundless strikeout. OB.Neon, but they've got to back the hell out of there because Enryu's going to drop to boot. They're just going to chase for more now. Tim's, that's a massive impulse. Up to 5 heroes. Another close onto Hustler, though. Hustler looks to drop and does. So Boom Esports definitely the winners in all this. Hate to tell you, John, but somebody's got control of the camera. Oh, God's sakes.
Yeah, that's okay. So that's a quick reset in the Dota 2, Mike. In and out.
All right.
Gotta do it.
Alrighty, well. Camera's back on, John. We're, I guess you can play by play as I'm reconnecting to the game.
Yeah, we can try.
That's just my luck, isn't it, John? No, don't play by play. That's just my luck. The one time we need to reconnect the game, a 5v5 level 1 engagement happens. Every time, without a doubt, something goes wrong when the Dota 2 camera work's not working. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's always on those tightrope moments. Yeah, it happens. It happens. Sometimes the players have connection issues. Sometimes we have Dota issues. It's the reason why we love this game. Although in this case, it's not a very fun bug, but it is what it is, Mike.
All right, well, we're back into the game, John. Happy to say that your solution did indeed work. So thank you very much for that. All right, we'll start off with the bot lane. Hyde, of course, going to be there on the Bane along with CTM. Overwolf's popping up now on the screen as well. So CTM is there as well on the Weaver. You've got Hustler and Enryu against them. John, this laning phase we talked about at the Viper shouldn't have too much of a tough time, but, it is still against the Weaver. I highly doubt they're able to get the amount of harassment they're looking for. But as I say that, CTM's got him very aggressive onto Hustler, and he might have a kill. Hustler gonna stick charge up, but it's not quite enough.
What sort of bug are you?
Yeah, they're just able to play really aggressive. That early level 2 on CTM, just allowing him to play with that swarm early on. And I like what OB.Neon's done with this lane. We talked about it in the draft. They needed sentries down to kind of cut off the Shikuchi, to toss the Nyx body forward. But level 1, you just don't have the stun to deal with that.
Absolutely not. Meanwhile, Tim's top lane finds his 3rd kill of the game already at a minute and a half in. He does get Boundless Striked up. Palos going to try and chase him down, but no real chance of actually getting this kill. So I'll tell you what, John, as a Dawnbreaker player myself, finding these early kills tends to be very effective for the hero. Tim's already on his 3rd as now bot lane. CTM finds another kill onto Enryu. Alright, turns out there's no break time for the Observer, which is me, by the way. Can't miss any more kills, John. But what the hell is happening? It's already 6-0, 2 minutes in.
Boom's just on a rampage. It feels like they're sending a message to Neon. Like Kalos used to be in Neon, CTM, Yopaj used to be in Neon. And we were having friendly banter inside, but it looks like Boom has something to prove. They're just pulling out all the stops, winning out every single lane. Even the mid lane for Yopaj, right? The one lane we never really pointed out. He's up there, 13-5 in last hits. JMC 11-0. It just goes back to the Tiny. Laning phase, not amazing. I mean, it's still really strong, but you have to gap close to get the avalanche toss. And for Yopaj, he's got Recon on hand.
Palos, you can't do that, sir. He does get the boundless strike off in time, so the heals are going to be there. But you've got to be very wary. I mean, Tims, he understands how far he can push this hero already. Even at level 2, this hero can pump out some devastating amount of damage. And you saw how far Palos just drops in terms of HP as soon as Tims jumps in.
Yeah, it's just difficult for the Enchantress to stop that cutoff. Like, you'd have to pop the Enchantress slow. And Palos again.
Luckily for him, Tims runs out of mana. So couldn't throw the Starbreaker out, and now Obeng's going to rotate to try and at least find a bit of a trade here. But Tims is going to be able to run his way out. FBZ will frontline for him. And it's just a real struggle. Though bot lane, at the very least, they do end up picking off CTM. So Hustler and Enryu, they're able to get it done. Meanwhile, though, at the top lane, Palos, he's going to be in trouble again. He's going to try and mischief dodge some of the damage. And I believe he did dodge out the Starbreaker. But my goodness, the aggression, it is not slowing down whatsoever.
Yeah, but props to Palos in this lane. He hasn't died. It's been Abeng copying the hits. And Palos is still up there in CS. 18-2. He's still finding the farm, despite all the pressure. I think Neon can kind of look at this 6-1 score and kind of cut their losses. They've only lost mainly supports. Maybe the Viper died a couple of times. But the Monkey King's still holding its own. The Tiny's still building up some farm. You're not too bad off despite the slower start here.
Certainly not. Pretty decent considering how the game started, that's for sure. So I suppose now we do have a bit of a quiet period, so we can actually talk about the lanes properly. Going back to this mid lane, John. Jamesy against Yopaj. So far, Yopaj dominating the lane. However, Jamesy should be just fine to keep securing his own CS on the Tiny. It does feel like this is going to be one of those kind of even trading lanes, unless we see a bit of a rotation from one of the supports from either side, but it seems like both teams are quite... In fact, never mind that, because Palos, he's going to drop again, John. FBZ and Tims, just so aggressive. It feels like as long as the Gush lands, which obviously it's a targeted ability, it's not too hard, Tims could just run in with the Celestial Hammer and the Starbreaker and you're just basically dead.
Yeah, and there's just nothing Abeng can do. Again, he needs an enchanted creep to pick up to have some presence in lane. Tims has been doing a great job of putting his body in that large camp every single time to block it off. So even an investment of sentries wouldn't really give Abeng much to play with. If he just plays in lane and uses Enchantress as slow, it's not enough to break off the Tide or the Dawnbreaker. Either one will still keep running up and will still be able to tank through a lot of that damage and punish. So it's a tough game for the Enchantress. Abeng has to walk all the way to the triangle to pick something up to play in this lane.
Yeah, and he gets unlucky again, John. He got the Wild Wing Ripper. It's probably the worst large creep you could get. This bot lane, Hyde, in pretty big trouble, and Ryu should have the kill, but now Tims, he shows up again. They're going to find the Viper, but the Hustler, Nyx, is going to be just fine to run. But Tims, he's on absolute fire. 3-0-2, 5.5 minutes in. He's actually going to run right back into Hustler. Starbreaker going to be right on target. Celestial Hammer available again. He might have the kill, Tims.
Oh my god.
Tims, that's enough. It's 6 minutes into the game, Tims. I'm going to need you to calm down a bit.
Yeah, you know what this reminds me of, Mike? It reminds me of that one game we saw Tims in the Monkey King. Remember how insane that game was? He was like 50-0 at the end of it. It had the same sort of start for Tims. And he's just on a roll. Level 4 already, just going to play bot. They get a good trade, trading up support for a core. They can leave the Tide solo because he's tanky enough. FBZ can just farm up and they can just focus on killing Enryu.
Uh-oh, and now Yopaj has rotated down to the pot lane. And yeah, this is a Viper, John. He's meant to be the dominant one, but the tips are flying out. Enryu is coughing it. They refer to him as the CEO, John. I'll tell you what, he's looking a bit like a CEO right now.
Certainly is. They are certainly sending a message to Enryu after this friendly joke inside.
Yeah, Hustler's trying to stack for his team, but there is no stacking while Tims and Yopaj are on the case. Meanwhile, though, top lane, FBZ ends up dropping, and the tips are now coming out back the way of Boom. As towards the bot side, Hustler does indeed end up going down. And I don't want anyone to complain about the camera work today. this is unfair, John. It's been 14 kills in 7 minutes. I can't be expected to keep up with this many kills.
It's insanity, Mike. It's just action all across the map, rotations all over the place. Jamesy having to show up top to secure the Tide kill. If he didn't make it, I think FBC would have actually lived through. The damage output of the Monkey and the Ench just wasn't enough. And that does give some much needed space for OB.Neon to kind of breathe, especially for Paulus. He still needs to build up. He's a long way from any major items, but they're just keeping the pressure here on Boom. Yopaj just holds mid. He's got his Urn up, 2 charges ready to go. So any cold snap combination is more than likely going to lead to a kill. And Tims is just still pressuring the Viper lane. Like, Enryu has less CS than our Tide, has not slowed down CTM. Like, you expect the Viper to have this early presence, but he just hasn't dominated at all.
Oh, Enryu, he copped the stun for the Starbreaker. CTM, he might keep going for this. Enryu, he's way too low to survive. He's going to try and at least get Tims, and he should have him. But it's a very concerning sign when the POS 4 on the enemy team is the same level as the position 3 on OB.Neon. And that's exactly what's happened. They're both level 5. It's about the same XP, John. And now top lane, Boom Esports has shown up. Palos, he's going to have to be very, very wary, but it looks like he's noticed they are around and does at least break the smoke. He's going to be forced to go into the jungle, though, and when I say that, he's kind of being haunted right now by Hyde on the Bane.
Yeah, they're just not giving any room here towards Neon. Like, they need this Monkey King to hit its early item spikes. Again, he's still stuck in Power Treads and Orb. And that is enough to do some damage, but he needs some backup here if they want to hold this top tier 1.
There is a smoke coming in now. The backup is on its way. Bing and James are going to make their way over. Nice little Satyr Tormentor coming out as well. Got some Hadokens to fly out here from a Bang as they continue to push this top tier 1 tower. FBZ, he does have the Ravage available. Hyde gets a nightmare, but Jamesy is going to be able to pick him off. And Hustler's the one to take the kill. Jamesy, he'll still have a look for more. Ultimately, won't be able to catch anyone else. Maybe Neon, they get something for their trouble. It is really just only a Bane kill, though.
Yeah, it's a Bane kill and a tower deny. So, at the least, they're denying some gold snowball effect onto Boom, and they're giving a little bit of breathing room again to Paolo. So, they're just ensuring that the Monkey King does have this smooth start, but rotating all those heroes up top just means CTM still has this free game. Level 8 now, Falcon Blade up, Javelin flying in, Maelstrom not too far off, and Enryu.
No, the neutral item! No, Enryu!
No.
Oh, Tims. He finds another kill on the Dawnbreaker for what? No, in fact, it was Yopaj who took it, but you get my point. They even got the neutral item, and it was the Fairy's Trinket, so Yopaj is going to use it himself.
Just unfortunate, you know. You're farming, you feel safe, you've got the ward watching the one side of the ramp, they just flank you on the other side, and your Viper is just not having a game. Again, below CS compared to the Tide, below the Invoker, didn't dominate lane, and mid again, Jamesy.
He's going to be alright for now. Cold Snap wasn't actually committed there by Yopaj, so it looks like he just didn't really want to dive too far into that tier 1 mid tower. In the meantime, Boom, they don't seem to want to slow down. Tims, still very healthy, farm a little bit, but it looks like they might have to make their way over to the top where FBZ is in a spot of danger. He does have Ravage up, and he's got the Soul Ring to use if he needs the mana. Looks like for now they're going to leave him be. It is a very dangerous predicament, right? Like, you want to jump on a Tide, but you see how aggressive Boom Esports has been so far. You know they can rotate very fast. And with the Ravage available, you're just never really safe to get an early pick off.
Oh, Bang.
Bang in the bot lane in the meantime. He's probably just dead hit. No, never mind. CTM. Not going to risk his own life against Enryu. Does back off and goes back to farming. And may I just add, by the way, John, CTM, somehow, even though he's a support and plays POS 1 when he needs to, he still finds himself at the top of the net worth board. Every single time. Without a doubt, he is the most farm hero.
I think that goes back to, you know, playing to his roots, right? Like, he used to be a core player a few years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago. Remember Complexity Schem? Complexity Schem, I remember those days.
Complexity.
And he was a fantastic core back then. Yeah, he was one of the early C players to go to NA
I'm
all that time back.
I was just kind of making fun of the team name. Yopaj, gonna go into a Bang. Cold Snap is there. They've got the Swarm as well, and CTM, you know, seeing his team get so aggressive, he wants to join in the fray. Hustler gonna try and protect, but no. He still gets caught out, and now Tims, he's set up onto the Tiny with the Fiend's Grip out. It's going to be another kill out onto Jamesy. And in fact, they found Hustler. It just doesn't stop. The gift that keeps giving. OB.Neon feeling very charitable today against Boom Esports. And we have a 16-5 lead already.
It's madness. Boom. Just playing the strong tempo early on. They've got the heroes for it. They've got the control. They've got the damage. For Neon side, again, their draft, it needed to snowball with a Viper. They lack team fight, and their options are limited.
But just look at this. Yopaj rotates, gets a cold snap off. Tims, he says, yeah, you know what? I'll commit the ulti and come over. That he does, and Palos just melts. Just no chance of survival.
Yeah, there's just no room for Neon right now. The global presence of their ganks with Tim's coming in with the Solar Guardians just not something they can counterplay. Again, that's mainly where the Nyx pick was kind of made sense, right? Like with the Spike Carapace to cancel the Solar Guardian, we haven't seen Hustle able to leverage that. In fact, we haven't seen the Vendetta as well come through in a big way. They haven't been able to scout around, play for pickoffs, try to burst someone down. Perhaps once they have Jamesy's blink here, Mike, that's when you can kind of play with your Nyx. You can scout forward, you can blink up, get the burst. Until that blink is up for Jamesy, until the next 200 gold, they're kind of having to play a little bit safer here.
Bot lane hide. Well, he looks like he was going to go down. Problem is FBZ's joined in now, and Palos doesn't know whether he wants to jump to go for the fight. In fact, he'll leave him be for at least now, as now Yopaj shows up on the Invoker, but he's been caught out. Big Ravage available, but it was only onto really one. Hustler, he'll keep the chase up with the Primal Spring in. Palos will be able to get the job done. Onto Enryu, they've got Hustler down. Palos, he'll keep trying to go for the fight. In the meantime, they do kill off Hyde, and of course the Viper has officially gone down as Jamesy and Palos are now being chased. The Gush is there, Jamesy's still in danger, but Palos will commit the Wukong's command. FBZ does kill off a Bang, but now needs to back off. At least that he digs up a bounty. It's very hard to hype up these team fights when FBZ's literally digging a shovel, or digging a hole with a shovel, while a Wukong's command and a Monkey King's hitting him, John.
Just doesn't care if you know, he's like, all right, you get that, I'll stand outside, I'll dig my own little hole, I'll have my own fun. We don't need to hit you, we don't need to do anything when you pop that skill. And in the end, that's still a pretty decent fight for OB.Neon. They find Yopaj, right? They find Yopaj plus the Bane, and they lose 3 heroes to do it, but they did need those kills, and they did eventually find them. Now you can see Neon, they've got that blink on the Tiny here, Mike. Jamesy is ready to go, and this is when we need to see Neon start to gain some ground back. They need to find the pickoffs. Issue is, they're going in blind. They don't have vision. They have no clue where Boom's at, and doesn't look like they'll find him.
It certainly doesn't. I mean, the closest target is CTM, and you'd love to find the Weaver, but he's not going to be that easy to catch. He's out of there already, onto the other side of the map. And OB.Neon, maybe you could argue the smoke was to be able to relocate down to the bot side of the map and just try to farm that jungle safely, but I just feel like you wanted to get that blink reveal going for yourselves if you are OB.Neon, and well, the surprise reveal is definitely dead now. They can see the blink available on the Tiny. At the very least, they do get the bot T1, but they've got to come back and defend this mid T1. They can't let it go down for free like this. Enryu's trying, but he's just got no damage at the moment. Like, he literally does nothing to FBZ, and the jump's in. They're onto the Viper now. Enryu, he's going to try and back, but the Sunstrike is going to land. And with the Spirit Vessel, he might still just go down. In fact, never mind, but CTM, he's going to get the job done. Onto the Fiend's Grip now. They've got the Tiny. They couldn't ask for any more here on the side of Boom Esports as Jamesy. He's going to drop. Hustler, he can try to run, but CTM's the faster bug. There you go, FBZ takes care of it. And they've even got another. Tims, he'll keep the vision up onto a Bang, who will keep trying to run. But ultimately, I believe he is just set to fall as the cold snap does come in. That'll be another kill to the way of Boom Esports.
Man, it's just reflective of the kill score, Mike. 24/7 action here between Boom and Neon. Just non-stop kills. Neon really ramping up the aggression. We've seen Boom ramp up the aggression. We've seen Neon try to ramp it up with that blink, but again, they just kind of use it to find vision. And Palos
Gonna try and go on to Tims. Tims is actually level 11 right now, Jonathan. As a position 4, he will end up dropping. But he's currently 2 levels ahead of Enryu on the Viper. He's actually the same level as Jamesy on the mid Tiny.
Bang.
Meanwhile, top lane, a Bang. He's gonna get spotted out. He's gone. Bye-bye, Bang.
Yeah, he TP'd to outpost there, Mike. Dropped the ward and dies. So at the least they get some vision out on their jungle for Neon side, and at this point you could argue that the Enchantress kill isn't much gold anymore, considering the net worth difference. So not the biggest here for Neon to lose. Again, you're getting some information out in the map. You're keeping some track of where Boom's playing. Issue is Boom's in Roshan now. And you get started to it. They've got the damage on CTM flying through. They've got the minus armor from the Gush. Neon can fight there. It's just that they're not in the right side of the map right now.
We have a quick peek at the hero levels, John. I want to bring the graph up. I want to see what's going on. 'Cause this game's a bit ridiculous. Like, just look at the hero level disparity. Hyde on the POS5 Bane is level 9. He's ahead of 3 heroes on OB.Neon. That is ridiculous.
Yep. It's a hard game for Envy, right? Like, he didn't win out his lane. They ended up dying a little bit too much as well, so the Viper just has no comeback play. It can farm, but it's not a hero you want to be farming on. I think that's where the disparity lies for Neon. They kind of need to just sign off the Viper, hope he passively gains some gold in between these fights, hit a BKB timing to stand up front and try to be a body for the team. But this is where it goes back to the draft. Like, the Viper on off lane, if it doesn't dominate lane, it doesn't contribute in team fights. It doesn't really give you more control. All it really does is give you more damage. But it just feels like that damage doesn't matter because he doesn't live long enough to use that damage.
Scan out as well. They know James is around here somewhere. EPs were coming in, but eventually they do cancel them off. While top lane, Palos being very cautious on this Monkey King, understanding that Boom Esports still looking to get very aggressive here. Well, they see and Palos reveals himself, goes back into the tree line. Should be just fine. That's currently the state of the game right now. Is OB.Neon, they can't show on the map, at least for long. Palos now going to spot out Tims, will understand that he can't make the jump in, especially while CTM's around, that's for sure. Meanwhile, mid, FBZ, he's sniping some couriers right now in between 2 supports of OB.Neon. Apparently, he's just going to D-ward for the team too. He gets 2 sentries for his trouble, and they officially just can't do anything about it.
Yeah, they can't stop the tide. Like, he was playing in that area under vision with 3 heroes around him. No one wanted to jump in. They just know they don't have enough burst to handle FBZ. They will try again, though. They've got Vendetta on Hustler, but still not the target they'd want. Maybe they could flank for CTM if they wanted to.
I mean, FBZ probably is just a hero you can't kill right now. Maybe with 5 here, they're going to try. Henryu's coming in. You've got the Nether Toxin to break, but he is so tanky. They'll stun him up. Nightmare going to remove a lot of that, and now the Ravage comes through, and here comes the Cavalry. Fiend's Grip is out onto Henryu. Palos, a great Boundless Strike, trying to turn this one around. The heal's coming in, but it's cancelled off as well. The Dawnbreaker is going to have to run the long way, but it won't even matter. Henryu just drops. CTM, he's going to go for a bit of a chase here onto a Bang. It decides better of it. No need. They'll just go after that top tier 2 tower instead.
Just go for the push. They get the offlane kill. Again, front line gone. They know there's no Ravage, though. Neon could look to re-engage.
Oh, that's a big initiation. They've got the Aegis down. Boundless and Avalanche toss combination, but now the Tornado going to land in onto Jamesy. But without the Aegis up, Boom Esports, they're not going to try and overstep their boundaries here, and they are going to back off at least for a little bit. In the meantime, Tims has been down to the bot lane farming that Ags up the whole time. I mean, he tried to ult in, couldn't quite get there in time, and at the very least, it has bought him so much time that he's about 200 gold away from having the full Ags up now.
And we talked about the effect that Ags would have there, Mike. The evasion's going to be really hard for Neon to play into. It's already really hard to commit their bodies inside that Solar Guardian. It is still possible for the Nyx to cancel it off. There's still a 1-second channel time. So if you go in, pop Spike Carapace, you will cancel it. But eventually, Tims could just go for a BKB. So you just pop the BKB, use Solar Guardian, Spike Carapace won't work anymore, and Tims is going to be contributing to the fight. Anyway, I think for Neon, this means they've got to play a bit more aggressive. Maybe just try to snipe out Tims again. Like, we've seen them kill Tims twice now. If they can catch him farming on the far side of the map, because he expects to get into the fights with the Solar Guardian, and keep killing this POS 4 who's pretty darn fat, you can kind of bounce out that way, especially if you kill him, like, say, 2 more times. However, Boom, not going to give that opening. They've smoked up here.
Surprised though. I mean, they're 90 gold away from having the axe up on Tims. I thought they might just want to wait for that. Nevertheless, they're going to smoke in with a double damage rune on CTM, so I suppose they just want to take advantage of the DD rune. It's fair enough. They are not going to find the opening they're looking for, though, OB.Neon. Realizing they were in danger, do back off, and now Hustler has vision on Tim, so they'll make the jump in onto the Dawnbreaker with the Nightmare. Gonna buy a bit more time, but not for long. Avalanche tosses out. Tims, he's gonna drop immediately. So OB.Neon, nice conservative play here. Are able to hold back Boom Esports as the Sunstrike comes in onto a bang, but it won't connect. And as long as they can keep delaying out these team fights, finding a pick-off here and there and not allowing Boom to just take over, I think they have a decent opportunity to try and come back in this game 1.
For sure. All they need to do is stall out, try to get scaling going on their Monkey King and their Tiny, because eventually Jamesy's going to have that Silver Edge, he's going to have the Ag Shard, he's going to hit like a truck. Neon, they will smoke up though. They know that there's still some room with no Ravage and likely Boom split up, so they can get some punishment in here.
Who do they find though? Like, you can't deal with FBZ. I don't think this man's killable right now on the Tide. Like, maybe you could get him with 5 heroes. They might have to try. But he's got the Ravage up and we saw what happened last time. In fact, they won't even try. They understand it's going to take way too long to actually get through the HP pool of FBZ. Problem is, in the meantime, he's going for his own Aghanim Scepter, John. And let me tell you, that AoE Gush is very fun to play with. But it's also very, very effective, especially when you've got a carry like Weaver. Does just rely on his right clicks, and that minus armor, it does start to add up.
Really does. Like, that on top of the Swarm running through you, the minus armor is eventually going to clump up, and the deep push is great as well, though.
And bot lane, Tims, Ravage going to be committed. FBZ wants to force the fight, and now a Starbreaker. Going to land on one, being tripped out. They've got the Tiny. No one's going to cancel it off, and now the Solar Guardian to come right through from Tims. He'll survive, back right out of there. And OB.Neon, they are between a rock and a hard place right now. It's not looking too great for him as Hustler. He does at least get himself out. But they are going to lose 2 in the meantime. Still very bad news for OB.Neon. And Tim survived throughout all that, John. He did not go down.
Oh, you gotta love that Essence Ring use there as well. Like, that burst HP makes it so hard to commit onto here that's already fairly tanky on the support role. And with the stats the Ags give you, of course, it's just really hard to pin down. You're seeing the effect of that Ags come in. A lot of that damage from the Wukong's just cancelled off. CTM's pretty far forward here, though.
Right underneath the Sentry Ward as well. He's going to pop the BKB, though. Now, can you really fight him? Viper Strike's going to go through the BKB, but Palos, he's just going to drop so quick. The amount of damage CTM is dealing at the moment, it is nothing to laugh at. And they might just stick around and go for a bot tower.
Yeah, they know Wukong's is down. They know Vendetta's down for a bit longer. He can just slowly siege here, push back the wave, and constantly keep that farm game up. They could still try to fight here on Neon. They are still clumped up here. It's just a massive risk to take at this point.
I love what Yopaj is doing this whole game as well. Like, you see the constant Sunstrikes in the tree line to try and find the Monkey King. But naturally, that time around, the Monkey King wasn't even alive, but he's just looking through the tree lines, trying to get the vision and the information his team needs to be able to dive these towers. You love to see it. It's just something you don't see very often from Invoker players, but I think there's added value in being able to do that.
Oh yeah, just using, I think a lot of skills that give information is just really busted in the right hands. Like, you think about Venge, you think about Monkey King, Mike, especially Monkey King when we saw it on Tims. Not quite the same effect when it's on pause 1 for Palos, as again, he has to focus on farm. But anything that gives you vision is just so strong, because there's actually no counterplay in that skill in Palos.
Yeah, he's in trouble. Sunstrike going to connect as well. He cannot jump into the tree line right now. He's trying to get away. It's not looking great, though, but the Gush, it does not land. And you know what, John? That's another thing we didn't really talk about with the Axe Gush, is you can check a lot of the tree line with that.
Yeah, it just lets you scout out again, cutting off the Monkey King from finding those angles. It makes it a lot harder for Palos to play this game, right? Like, juking out all these spells, juking out Sunstrikes as a scouting tool, juking out the Gush damage. It's not easy. And I think that's something Neon has to be ready to play around. Like, just try to preempt and always be aware of. Yopaj, though,
He gets caught out. Should be a death here for the Solar Guardian. Again, with the Aghanim Scepter, going to make it very difficult. He's still alive. They should eventually get through him, but what's it going to cost you? Hustler, he's going to drop immediately as FBZ now catches out Enryu. They'll find another. In fact, the Gush, it connected on a bang. He wanted to get out of there. He got slowed up. He tried for the TP, but none of it's going to work. It's going to be a 3-for-1 trade. And of all people to take a triple kill, it's going to be Hyde on the Bane.
just building up in that Bane. You love to see it on his hero. Of course, he's got the keen optic. He's working onto his Aether Lens. It's always one of those things. If you have a Bane in the game, you can expect a keen optic. You can expect a telescope down the line, and the range just gets ridiculous. The control to deal with those BKB uses that OB.Neon has now makes it so much harder. And Palace again.
Yeah, I mean, with the Dragon Scale is making it so he can't actually jump into the tree line because of that slow DPS damage. The FBZ being very, very annoying towards Palos here. What they can do is keep securing farm for OB.Neon, buy more time. Trust that Palos can take over the game later on. You still have the Tiny as well, who is going to scale into a right-click core later. You can already see the Shadow Blade is being built up on this tide. The mid lane, FBZ. I mean, they stun him up, but it means nothing if you can't actually hold him down. That'll be about it, FBZ. He just walks out of it.
Gutsy move from OB.Neon though. They immediately smoke up. They feel like they can make use of this split up and again try to go hunting. Neon is still sort of blind. They've only got the ward down bot watching this side of the river. So they're just kind of guessing at where Boom's at, and Boom's just looking at that tier 2 top. So could be a good flank from behind here if Neon kind of reads that, and they are in position for it.
Oh, the dream as well, John. They found the Psychic Headband for Hyde. So even more cast range now. I believe the Aether Lens is actually on the way. Now this is literally the dream. As a Bane spammer myself, this is getting me very excited, at least for Hyde, as now the Tornado lands onto Palos, but a very nice balance strike. James is going to jump in, but there is your Solar Guardian once again keeping everyone alive, as now they turn around. Yopaj, a great Chaos Meteor coming down from the heavens as the Ravage FBZ jumps in as well. They're all stuck in the tree line, and Yopaj, he just stands there and watches. They can't kill him. He watches everything with a front row seat. And they just could not take care of this Invoker.
Oh, Abing.
Yeah, another one. Fey Grenade out, FBZ playing with him. No shovel available for the Tide this time, John, but look at FBZ. Very slow motion here.
Ooh.
Tornado out. Nice path. Spirit Vessel, everything being thrown at Bang. He's taking a lot of damage. Sunstrike going to connect though. Yopaj, he'll take care of him.
Yep. They find all the kills once more on Boom's side. 37-11, OB.Neon. They've been trying out smokes, they've been trying to rotate, they just don't find the angles. The map, again, isn't as lit up. The smokes did allow them to ward up, so they know Roche is happening. I don't think Neon can fight it. It's just dropping way too fast. They are still scrambling, though.
Way too late, though. Very, very hard team fight to take. Jamesy going to try and go in after Hyde, but won't even have enough damage for the Bane. Sad, sad days here for OB.Neon. So all they can do is just try to find any kind of pick-off they can get right now would be very, very nice. But you know, if your Tiny can't get a kill on a Bane, you know you're in dire straits right now.
Yeah. It's just a real tough time. Now they have to deal with the vision game from FBZ as well. He's got the gem. So all those wards drop from the smokes, they're going to disappear and just give less info for Neon to play with, less angles to find. They are clumping around a triangle. Very secure area for them. They could look to play for the defense on the tier 2, but if you're playing against Tide with Ags, like, eventually that tower will fall. The creep wave is just never going to shove out in your favor.
They're going to try and sneak from the backside. Yopaj going to run right into Jamesy instead. They'll go on to Enryu. That'll be a Viper gone. He'll BKB up. It's not going to protect him for the Sunstrike nor the CTM damage, and now they'll just rush for more. Hustler, he's going down to Tim solo with the Starbreaker, and now a Bang will also go down. That Starbreaker damage was kind of ridiculous. He literally just kind of one-shot him with the Starbreaker.
Yeah, the great thing about Starbreaker is it's physical. So all the minus armor just amps up your output makes it scale towards late game, although...
They can't actually kill this Bane, John.
Oh my god.
Solar Guardian again onto the Tiny. The stun lands. The Fiend's Grip's there. The Tornado, Yopage cancels off the Fiend's Grip. But I suppose it doesn't matter. It just doesn't.
If they find a kill, they stop the creep cutting to prevent the push, and while that happens, high ground's being sieged by CTM and FBZ as well. Neon, options are growing limited here. They still have Wukongs. They don't have the angle to force that fight, and now they have to deal with Ravage off cooldown for FBZ. But they've got to do something.
What do you do? You're lacking your mid-tiny. CTM's got a Satanic on the way now. It's got even more survivability. At the very least, I suppose they can keep draining his mana on. That'll make times a little bit rough for CTM, but he's got a Clarity available to boot. Yeah, they just back off. Top rank's taken. No contest. Just very surgical gameplay here from Boom Esports.
Yeah, and Neon have to watch out. There's a double Ravage on FBZ here, Mike. Could be a bad fight.
He's a tanky boy, and now the Ravage comes out. FBZ, he finds a double Ravage. You just talked about it, John. Right on cue from FBZ. Enryu, he's going to BKB, but it doesn't matter. It does nothing. Just perfect. It really is just very clean gameplay from Boom Esports. OB.Neon, I believe this might be the last team fight they're going to try for here. Buyback's committed. They'll give it a crack. FBZ's in. They already see Hustler with the gem. But they won't chase him down too far. In fact, CTM, he'll go after a Bing instead.
Oh,
just 2 shots in. In the meantime, Solar Guardian's going to come out again, right onto Jamesy's head. And they've got the control, I think. In the backside, Palos trying to fight CTM, but he's just going to try and TP out in time, and he does do so. But he is the only survivor, and they will finally call it an absolute diminishing game, I'd say. It's just so dominant from Boom Esports. I can't say it was really close.
No, I think the score speaks for itself. There were a couple of moments where Neon were finding trades, but most of those kills were support kills. Most of those kills were onto high. They killed Yopage maybe once or twice, and they just couldn't get off to a running start. All from the draft. They open up with a Monkey King Ench, which on paper is a really stable way to go, but then they end up running the Monkey King 1. They go with the Nyx pickup to kind of counteract the early Solar Guardians from Tims. We only saw that in play once. And the Viper pick to hold their lane, the Weaver is such a great answer. I think Boom just managed to read what Neon wanted to do there, and they just knew how to play against it. Like, Neon were doing the right things in that lane specifically, right? Like, down bot, they had an early sentry dropped in the tree side to spot the Shikuchis. But level 1, they started with Impale because they were trying to fight back against First Blood, so they didn't have the Spite Carapace to cancel off the Shikuchi for easy stunts and setup.
Yeah.
And from there, just after that first death, after First Blood into that lane, Boom was just off for a running start that Neon were not set up to stop.
Absolutely. With that, John, we are going to head into Game 2 after a short 10-minute break, and we'll see if OB.Neon can turn this one around and tie out the series, or whether Boom Esports are going to continue their very dominant, at least for now, series against OB.Neon. We'll be right back.